Thank you once again for joining me on Legal Matters. We're bringing you UK immigration law updates. And in particular today, we'll be looking at fee waiver applications, and we will also be looking at domestic violence. Surprisingly, this is an area that I think we need to focus on, because there is so much domestic violence going on, and it's unbelievable where immigration is being used as a tool to control and manipulate immigrants who have come into the country. And therefore, for me, it's important that we look at this area of law and how it can help some people. So we'll be looking at that. If you have just joined the program, please share the program for us until we get everywhere. Yes, this week so much has happened. We will give you the highlights of immigration and nationality law, champions of immigration justice who have passed away this week. We will also take this opportunity to show them some respect. Yes. So thank you for joining us. Share the program for us.
Kings of kings and lords of lords, ruler of creation. His name is King Selassie.
The main topic today, like I said, is domestic abuse and domestic violence, and victims of domestic violence who could submit an application for indefinite leave to remain in the UK. You'll be looking at the whole requirement, exactly what will be needed, and what you can do to make a successful application. So you've joined us. We ask that you share the program. Let others benefit from today's program, because if you share it, people will also be able to watch the program, learn from it, and benefit from it as well. So please, all those who have tuned in, we ask once again that you share the program for us. So I'm doing the best that I can. I'm gonna take the first 5 minutes to share the program. So if you are watching us, you should also do the best that you can and share the program for us. Yes. A slice of Zion is for I. And all those who have tuned in, thank you very much for tuning in, for making a day with us every Saturday. May the anointing of God be with you. Yes.
I pray every day to see the falling of the wicked man. I know that wickedness will prevail, but only for a little while. And a slice of Mount Zion is for I. A slice of Mount Zion is for I. Gotta go to Zion with your force. A man has an enter in a house. You cannot live here with your beacon. All you got to do is help me pray. Let's kneel on our knees and clasp our hand and say, Father, please help me. A slice of Mount Zion is for I.
Yes, a slice of Zion is for I. Wickedness will prevail, but it's for a little while.
I've seen white squall walking on the street with man under arrest. A slice of Mount Zion is for I. Satan is around us like a roaring lion.
Yes, if you have just joined us, we ask once again that you share the program for us. We thank you for tuning in. Today you're going to be blessed as usual.
A slice of Mount Zion is for I. Hear me when I say, a slice of Mount Zion is for I. Hear me when I pray. Give me strength to die, pray. With the manna from Zion, no one can give satisfaction but thee alone. Sit upon thy throne and pardon our transgression and show forth pity to thy children in the morning.
Yes, whilst you are waiting, do the best that you can to share the program for us, because that's exactly what I'm doing right now, sharing the program so that people can get the opportunity to also enjoy the program and learn from the program. So do us a favor, do the best that you can, share the program like you can share no more. Yes, keep sharing, and a slice of Zion will be for you. Yes, that's right, a slice of Zion. Yes, God of our salvation.
Rastaman throw one stone, and they bring a bad feeling to all wicked men. Out of him foot dread, and the man throw one stone, and it bring a bad feeling to all wicked men. Only when man like Marcus Garvey speak, wicked men would I hear. Instead of that, they only sit aside and rob and cheat and oppress the poor. May God, what a sin thing. I got to throw one stone, and it bring about the feelings to all wicked men. What a black bingy man throw one stone, and it bring about the feelings to all wicked men.
Right, where do we start the program? Yes.
If Rasta make a progressive move, wicked men are ready.
A lot has happened this week. So let's start.
How they want to see
What's happened this week?
the days when them can't send out Rasta, can't send I send out Babylon. Bingy man throw one stone, and they bring a bad feeling to all.
It's sad to announce
What?
one of the leading
One stone, and they bring a bad feeling.
campaigners for the Windrush generation, she's passed on to glory this week. She was only about 65 when she passed on to glory. You know, life, it's all about the legacy, leaving a positive impact on society, and you shall always be remembered. She was 65. She fought for the rights of the Windrush generation, fighting for equality and also justice and recognition of the Windrush generation. Those who came to the UK in the 1940s, 1950s, and the 1960s. As we all know, most of them came to the UK with the law on their side. The law in them days made it very clear that if you come from the Commonwealth, you had automatic right to stay in the UK indefinitely. Some of them came in even as British citizens. As time passes by, the law did change. And as the law changed, then they had to prove themselves that they were British citizens. And as a result, we all know what has happened. Some of them could not provide documentary evidence to show that in fact they are British. And as a result, some of them were detained, some of them were removed and deported from the United Kingdom. This lady here said, no, this is not right. So among other people, what they tried to do was to petition Parliament. And through the petition of Parliament, what then happened? He was able, or she was able to, bring about some changes. And as we all know now, some of them are now getting compensation for, the way they've been treated by the UK government. Unfortunately, this week, she passed away. And the legacy that she has left is that, if you fight a rightful cause, you will always be remembered. So it's very sad, but life is life. A time will come, there's time for everything. A time will come that, your Lord, you will meet your maker. What they said was that her name, is Paulette Wilson. Unfortunately died. And for me, I believe that he died fighting for a good cause. And when you fight a good fight and you die for a good cause, you shall always be remembered. But one thing that we also have to know, we have had historians, people, strange, I will contrast this to Christopher Columbus, an Italian explorer who claimed that he discovered America. For a short time, he was praised that he discovered America. But as I speak to you today, his status in America today has been taken down because what he did was full of lies. So it's important that when we are setting a legacy, we set out a clean legacy so that forever and ever, people will always remember us for the good stuff that we did. So Paulette, she will always be remembered. Paulette Wilson, for being one of the architects of fighting for justice for the Windrush generation. Talking about the Windrush generation, I will make this parallel comparison between those people who came in during the 1940s, 1950s. I know that I have talked about this before, but it's always important that we need to remind ourselves, what has fallen before us, what has come before us, and the lessons that we can learn from his story. So, Windrush generation, this is what is happening to them. Some of them have been deported as a result of them not being able to, if you like, regularize their stay, or perhaps taking the necessary action to register as a British citizens in order to avoid some of these problems. Most of them did not, or some of them did not, and this is their predicament. Now we have European Union. We have voted for Brexit. We are coming out of the European Union, and all indications are that by 31st of December, Britain will leave the European Union. What was said was that if there is a deal, then of course, the transitionary period will be extended till 30th of June, 2021, for European nationals to apply for settled or pre-settlement status. This week, we have received an announcement that appears to suggest that, in fact, that is not going to be the case. Europe is playing balls, Britain is playing balls, and both parties to the negotiations basically are now saying that it's very likely that, in fact, there will be no deal. And we all know what no deal means. No deals means we will just wake up on 1st of January and basically European law will no longer be applicable in Britain. That would then mean that European law that offers protection to British nationals, to European nationals and their family members, technically will no longer be applicable in the UK. And by default, UK law will take precedence, UK law will take effect. If this happens, then what is going to happen to European nationals and their family members? It is for this reason, because of this uncertainty, that Justice and Law Solicitors, Lawyer Darko, my advice to any European and their family members living in the UK, anyone who has acquired European visa, i.e. residency card, permanent residency card, registration certificate, and so on and so forth, you do the best that you can and apply for the settlement and pre-settlement scheme. Why am I saying this? I'm saying this because the settlement and the pre-settlement scheme are issued under British immigration law. And therefore, even if we come out of the European Union without a deal, then by all means, of course, you are protected under British immigration law. So if you know anyone, people are taking it for granted. People are basically not doing it for one reason or the other. It baffles me. But all that I say to you is this: what happened to the Windrush generation, the same thing can also happen to you. So it's a matter of, are you going to wait until it happens to you? Or perhaps you take the initiative and do something about it before it happens to you. I know what I would do. I would rather do the application and make sure that my future in the UK is secured. Once it is secured, then of course, you would then be able to what? You would then be able to stay in the UK without too much wahala. Because not knowing your future, not knowing what is going to happen, I think it's more worrying than actually know where you sit and where you stand. For that reason, I will encourage all our listeners, if you know anyone, if you know anyone who is European, who is living in the UK, who has been living in the UK, then you need to bring this to the person's attention, whether the person has applied for settlement or pre-settlement scheme. If the person has not applied, encourage the person to apply. Because at the end of the day, what happened to the Windrush generation can also happen to him, can also happen to you. Because at the moment, there's so much uncertainty, There's so much uncertainty as to whether we'll be coming out with a deal or we'll be coming out without a deal. So for me, it's important that assume that we are not coming out with a deal. And therefore, you take the initiative. You take the necessary steps today and then apply so that you can then do what? You can then do a successful application in good time so that you don't find yourself in any mess, because I can see it coming and I can see a lot of people facing challenges and difficulties after we have come out of the European Union after 31st of January 2020. So in order to avoid some of these problems, potential problems, I will encourage you, I will encourage all our listeners, all those people listening to us, all those people who have tuned in. Also encourage your family members just to go and do the pre-settlement scheme or pre-settlement scheme applications in order for them to have their peace of mind, because it's better to apply than not. Because, like someone will say, Had I known is the philosophy of a fool. Don't wait for it to happen before you do something about it. Do something about it now, so that you can avoid any potential problems in the future. So that is what I would say in regard to the European application. Also this week, there has been a newspaper article about the life in the UK test. The life in the UK test. Life in the UK is something that we all know is supposed to give us a bit of history about British life, and so that when you are coming to stay and be a citizen of this country, at least you know a bit of your history. We had some academics, in fact about 30 of them, and they are challenging the history, the way it is recorded in the life in the UK test, and also in the book. The argument is that the whole history about British Empire has been twisted. In fact, they are only talking about the good side of empire, but they are not talking about the nastiness of the British Empire, how in India people were starved to death, all because they wanted to punish them. And also, when you look at the insurgents of the Mau Mau people in Kenya, the insurgents of the Gold Coast, the rebellion, the Ashanti wars against the British, and the Yasantua wars, and so on and so forth. These are not even covered in the life in the UK test, and therefore the academics are arguing that if you are telling history, it's also important that you tell the whole truth rather than one side of the truth. And therefore the life in the UK test and the life in the UK history book must be amended. So Home Office, we're going to see what action that the Home Office is going to be taking about this. Next one is also Visa Application Centers, VAC, UKVI Visa Application Centers in the UK and also outside the UK. Some people were able to submit their applications before the lockdown in March. However, the time that they were supposed to do their fingerprints, the UKVAS had to cancel the appointment, all because of the COVID-19 and the need to reduce the infection rate. At the moment, you will be able to book an appointment. You'll be able to submit your application, but what you cannot do is to book an appointment, because once you submit the application, the appointment section will come up, but there will be no appointment slot for you to book. And this applies to those making application from outside the UK and those making application from within the UK. So if you have submitted your application and you have not had the opportunity to do your fingerprint or book to do your fingerprint, please bear with your lawyers, because at the end of the day, once the application is submitted, there is nothing that the lawyer can do until such time that the Home Office will do what? Will contact the lawyer again and ask the lawyer to go back and book the appointment. So please, if you have submitted your application, you have managed to submit your application, bear with your legal advisors and bear with your lawyers. At the right time, they will contact you and they will do what? They will tell you that, you can now book appointment to do your fingerprint. The flip side, or one better, something good about this is that the UKVAS and the Home Office are also, hopefully, they may come up with a policy. And the policy is that those who have already done fingerprint and they've been able to, to fish it out. If it's still in good state, they may use those fingerprints to basically to issue you with a new visa if your application is successful. So I have had some cases where my clients were not even asked to do fingerprints again because Home Office were able to use their old fingerprint to do what? To issue them a new visa. So it depends. It doesn't mean that they are going to use everyone's old fingerprint to give him a new visa. I'm not saying that. If you are fortunate enough, your fingerprint is still in a good state, then the Home Office may decide to use the old fingerprint that they have taken to make a decision in your new application. So in effect, you do not have to do another fingerprint again. But some people have been asked to go and do another fingerprint, whilst others have been told that there is no need to do a fingerprint. So if you are called or you are not called, it matters not. For me, the most important thing is being able to get your visas renewed or to get a visa. So that is how it is. So, I mean, as to why some people are called, some people are not called, can only put it down to the fact that some people, their fingerprint, maybe it was looked after very well, and that, is still solid, that it can be reused again. Some people, for whatever reason, maybe administrative error, maybe may have been contaminated. This is just a speculation. And though you may have been fingerprinted, they may ask you to go and do fingerprint again. So if your brother, your sister, your friend did not do a fingerprint and is being issued with another visa, do not compare yourself to them, because everyone's case is different from the other party. So that is what I can say in regards to fingerprinting and the UKVAS policy at the moment. Also, those people submitting application from outside the country. This week, some countries, and Ghana as is an example, the UKVAS, they opened their centers since 22nd of July. And what has happened is that at the moment, they are running a limited service. That means those people who are supposed to hand in their passports and those people who are supposed to collect their passports are being seen at the moment. They are the ones that they are seeing them. So even though we as lawyers can still submit your applications, especially if your daughter or your child is reaching the age of 18, do not sit there, because if you sit there, it may be too late. So all that I say to you is this: do the best that you can, do the best that you can, and do what? And do the applications, submit the applications online, and then wait for your turn. Because at some point, what's going to happen is this: they will be sending you an email to go and book for the appointment so that you can go and do your fingerprint. So especially if you have a daughter, if you have a son, if you have a child, and the child is going to be 18, do not sit there and say that the center has not opened and therefore you are waiting until they come back before you submit the applications. By the time they come back officially to work, then your child may be over 18. And if you're a British national, or for example, if you're a British national, or you have indefinite leave to remain, as we all know, the limit is 18 years. Once a child reaches the age of majority, which is the age of 18 years, it's too late to bring the child. You cannot, unless there are exceptional circumstances. And the test for exceptional circumstances is so difficult to overcome. So for that reason, I will say to you, I will advise you today that if your child, your daughter, your son is getting to that age, 18, do not wait. Put in the application today, put in the application now, so that when they open up, you can then submit the supporting documents and do your fingerprint, because the rules or the policy says this: the date of the submission of the application is the date that you submit online and pay the fees. So if at the time of fingerprint your son is 19, 20, it matters not. Your son will be treated as if he is 18 years of age at the time of the decision. So please, we have to, be aware of this policy, and we need to take the relevant steps, and get this done before the child is 18 years of age. We need to do that before it is too late. So, that is that. And also, as we all know, there has been an announcement. I keep getting telephone calls from all over the place. People are asking as to whether they are exempted from paying their NHS fees because they are frontline workers. Yes, because of political pressure, our Prime Minister, Boris Johnson, made an announcement some time ago that those working at the front lines, will be exempted from paying the NHS fees. They will be exempted from paying the NHS fees. At the moment, we are all waiting to see what is going to happen. However, announcement has been made over the first couple of days that those working within the NHS under a sponsorship license, or those who have been sponsored by the NHS, they could in fact request for a refund. However, there is going to be another policy in October 2020, so that those who are working within the NHS but are not on a sponsorship visa can also submit their claim. So there's going to be two ways in which you can make a claim. The first one that has been announced, and those who can actually make a claim today, are the doctors, nurses, those frontline workers working for the NHS, and NHS is their sponsor, i.e. they sponsor them for their visas. So those people, according to the policy, they could submit an application and make a claim for their refund for the NHS. But other frontline workers, unfortunately, you cannot at this stage. You have to wait until October. So that's how that it is. So if you have paid the NHS fees, you're a frontline worker, you're a key worker, keep your receipts. When you go to your lawyers, remind them. If you don't have the receipt, ring the lawyer so that you bring the lawyer's attention to it now, so that the lawyer can then make preparations towards October. Because when October comes, everyone will be rushing to do what? To claim their money. And therefore, for me, once you take the initial step, it will help. So by all means, do the best that you can. Get in touch with your lawyers and get them to get themselves ready, so that when the time comes, they can then do what? They can then make that request for you. It's very, very, very important. So it's important that we do that. Definitely. So by all means, get in touch and get your lawyers to give you a copy of the receipt. I would say get them to get you a copy of the receipts, because sometimes things can happen, and for me, get them the sooner the better. So that is that for that. Now let's look at the main topic that we are bringing you today. We're bringing you the main topic today, and let's see what we can do for today. Today we are talking about domestic violence, you see, and it's very sad that people have to go through this, and especially you come to the UK with the promise of a better life, and all that we see is that you look on screens, you look at movies, and UK is portrayed as a paradise. America is portrayed as a paradise, a place that basically you will get everything that you want, a place that you can command money from the trees, the money tree, the magic money tree. All these are something that has been implanted into people's head, and therefore there is that perception that some people even believe that if they make it to Europe and they die, they are happy. All these concepts are false concepts, and in fact, sometimes when people come over, some of the stories that we hear, especially domestic abuse and domestic violence, is unbelievable. We come from a place, for example, a place called Ghana, where we have the patriarchal system, where men dominate, and therefore, when it comes to domestic violence, most of the time it's men doing it against women. Men are the perpetrators, and women tend to be the victims. So in our community, as soon as you say domestic violence, there is that perception that it's only women who are being abused. But in Europe, some men are being abused brutal by their wives, by their partners, they've been cut off from their families and they're being treated like slaves. So it's happening. Men are sufferers, women are sufferers, and therefore, no matter how you look at it, it is bad. It is cancer within every community. And therefore, we all have to do the best that we can to educate people against domestic violence. People need to know that, the laws is there. And if you qualify, if you are able to prove your case, the state will offer you a protection. I am not here to encourage people to use it as an avenue to get their stay in the United Kingdom or other parts of Europe. But I am here to let people know that if you are a genuine sufferer of abuse, domestic violence in the household, either being a man, being a woman, then of course you need to know the law. You need to know your right so that in an event that you live in this type of situation, then you can then do what? Do something about it. And I will also link this to what we call fee waiver. Fee waiver, and also applying for the lifting of no recourse to public funds. If you are listening to me today, I believe that you take it in good faith and you also take it the right way, because this is what I have observed. And as I deliver my speech, I will use practical examples so that we can address some of the problems that we have within our communities. It's very, very important that we cover this as well. So I'll be covering a lot, and I will give practical examples, which I believe will also help us to address some of the problems that we have within our setting, within our communities in the UK and elsewhere. So we will look at that, and hopefully any advice that we can give, we will also give any advice that we can, because I know so much is going on within our communities. We tend to keep things quiet, even if things are so bad. We don't talk about it because of fear of reprisals, repercussions. But it's also important that we let people know their rights and the help that is out there, because if we don't, domestic abuse, domestic violence will continue, and basically it will never stop. So I think we need to do what we need to do to educate and address some of the problems that we have. Address the masses, address some of the problems that we have. It's important. Today, let's see. Let's take this quick song, and when we come back, we will continue the program. This song is by Sydney, and the title is Obia Nye Obia. So when you have power, don't think you can abuse it. Because today, you may have mouth to talk. Tomorrow, it's going to take someone to bury you. So we all have to be aware of our surroundings. Power corrupts. Absolute power corrupt absolutely. Not that you've got someone in a vulnerable stage or vulnerable state, so you think you can take advantage, and therefore you are going to take it. You may have the power to take it today, but if the person knows their rights, they could report it to the authorities, and they can also have their freedom. Visas and extension of visas are being used as weapons to basically to mess people about, to mess people up. And therefore, there is the need to talk about this topic today. Let's take this song, and when we come back, we continue the program.
Yeah. One more time, what's your condition? Me try my way. You know, sick of
Yes, the song explains itself. Ubia enye ubia. You know, the world that we live in, at the end of the day, 6 foot under. You will go, I will go, everyone will go. The question that we ask ourselves, all our qualifications, all the material stuff that we were able to gain in this world, are we going to take it with us? No. Naked we came, naked shall we go. So those abusers, or potentially, those abusers have to be aware of this, that we have laws in this country. Every country have their own laws, and I do not believe any country will have a law that will legitimate domestic violence. And therefore, people may not be aware that their behavior may amount to domestic violence and domestic abuse. And by so doing this topic today, we shall be able to educate those people to refrain from such behaviors. Domestic violence, as we all know, will take place in domestic settings, in people's household. That is where domestic violence will normally occur. And normally will occur behind closed doors. When no one is there, that is where the perpetrators will normally abuse their partners. And when I say domestic violence, culturally, because of where we come from, because Ghana, for example, men dominate too much in almost every area. And as a result, in many situations, you see that some men, out of ignorance, don't show no respect to women. And therefore, when we talk about domestic violence, because we've been brought up in that condition, we tend to think that it's men who causes domestic violence. It's men who tend to be perpetrators. Women tend to be victims. Biologically, men tend to be stronger than women. And therefore, around the globe, when you talk about domestic violence, most statistics will point to the fact that men normally are perpetrators. By saying that, I'm not saying that in every situation, it is the man who is the perpetrator and the woman is the victim. No, I'm not saying that at all. In fact, in most Western cultures, it flip over. The reverse may be the case. However, no matter how you look at it, whether it is a man who is causing the violence or the woman who is causing the violence, it matters not. The issue is that there is a domestic violence that is occurring in the household. For the purposes of immigration and nationality, leave to remain applications and sometimes individual status is also used as a weapon in some cases. And it's one of those cases that you cannot get your head around. A man or a woman will see a partner. They will then decide to get married. The woman or the man may be living in his or her own country, enjoying the fruit of his or her labor. And then he will then get enticed that, you know what? Come and join me in the UK. Everything will be fine. Life will be sweet. We will enjoy life. The woman or the man will leave everything behind and then come to the UK with the belief that he or she is going to get a new life. Economically, they are going to improve. And therefore, they promise them the European dream or the American dream. They pack up and they come to Europe. They come to America. And then the American dream or the European dream becomes the European nightmare or the American nightmare. Because the person who has invited them, that person, unfortunately, will also become their abusers. Sometimes they have children are getting abused. But like I said, because of cultural, most of the time, people tend to keep things quiet, even if there's abuse going on, because of the shame that it will bring to the family. So people tend to sweep it under the carpet, and the abuse continue and continue and continue. The question that I ask you, I say to myself, is this: if you do not be bold enough, if you are not bold enough and do what is right, will the abuse stop? That is the question that I think we all need to ask ourselves. Let's look deep inside ourselves and ask ourselves this very hard question. If you are aware of someone being an abuser, if you are aware of someone being abused, do we sit there and watch? Or do we sit there and look away? Or do we confront the situation? We have choices. Our own instincts. Like I say, immoral laws must be disobeyed. But doing the right thing, you're going to stand alone. But you have to do the right thing. Do what your conscience tells you is the right thing. Even if it makes people unhappy. So if you see someone being abused, someone is a victim of domestic violence, and you witness it, what do you do? That is the big question. Many a times these victims keep quiet and just stay still. They just don't do anything or don't say anything. Why is that the case? That is the case because in some cases they are being threatened that if you dare to say anything to anyone, I will make sure that you are deported from this country. If you dare to say anything to anyone, I will make sure that you get arrested. If you dare to say anything to anyone, You don't have papers, and therefore you'll be arrested and detained. If you dare to say anything to anyone, I will tell the Home Office that we are no longer together, and therefore I will mess up your papers. And the abuse and the threats continue and continue and continue. So, how do you know whether someone basically is a victim of domestic violence? What are the things that you have to be aware of? And when we talk about domestic violence, what is domestic violence from the first place? Domestic violence, let's look at how the Home Office have defined domestic violence according to the Home Office guidance. And it makes it clear that domestic violence and abuse goes beyond physical or sexual violence. You see, this is critical. Domestic violence goes beyond physical, i.e., physical abuse and violence and sexual abuse. So this is the Home Office definition of domestic violence. According to the Home Office guidance, domestic violence can be described as, and I quote, any incident or pattern of incidents of controlling, coercive, or threatening behavior, violence, or abuse between those aged 16 or over who are or have been intimate partners or family members, regardless of gender or sexuality. You see, the key here is that you have to be a partner or a family member. So, if you are in a marriage relationship and your husband or your wife is abusing your child, do not allow the perpetrator to use immigration as a tool to silence you. It's very, very important. Do not allow the perpetrator, being a man, being a woman, to use your immigration status as a tool to basically take advantage of the situation. Many a times, some people will be quiet because they've been threatened all the time that if you do this, I'll make sure that you are deported. If you do that, I'll make sure that you are deported. What I say to you is this: the law offers you protection. The family member, whether it's a child, a stepchild of the perpetrator, the law also offers them protection. If your parent, you are a child, or you see here, they say 16 and over. If your own parent is making move on you, then of course, you may be deemed as a victim of domestic violence. Someone will be watching me and be wondering, what am I talking about? Let me just use this as an example. Say you are a child. Say you are about, 18 years of age. Your father has brought you to this country, and your father is making a move on you. Someone is watching me and a person will say, Ghanaians, we don't do that. We cover things up. That is a fact. It happens in every community. If it can happen in that community, it can also happen in your community. And it does happen. Domestic abuse of this nature does happen. I think reporting is where the problem is. Because culturally, when you say this, people will simply just, blast it to one side. That be quiet or you're crabonne, don't say that. Your mother wouldn't do that, your father wouldn't do that, and we cover things up within our own communities. But you and I know that is something that might be going on behind the closed doors. And therefore, today we are empowering these people to come forward so that people who commit atrocities, violence against individuals are punished without even their papers being put in jeopardy. So for me, it's very, very important that these are very, very difficult stuff to talk about, but we need to talk about so that people know their rights. So if you're a victim, it shows that you are a partner of the perpetrator or a family member of the perpetrator. And there has been an incident or pattern of incidents of controlling, coercive, or threatening behavior, violence, or abuse between those aged 16 or over who are or have been intimate partners or family members, regardless of gender or sexuality. So, in order to succeed in this application, as the definition says, there must not have to have occurred a physical violence. So let me just repeat this. There is no requirement that there have to be a physical violence before you can succeed under the domestic violence route. All that you need is to be able to prove that there has been a controlling behavior or threat of violence. If you are able to prove this, then of course you may be able to apply both under British law and also under European law. So therefore, migrants who are in the UK as the spouse or partner of a British citizen or someone who is settled in the UK can apply for a permission to stay in the UK as a victim of domestic violence. The beauty about this route is that even if your visa has expired, you can still apply. Even if your visa has expired, you can still apply under the domestic violence route. Why is that the case? Because there may be cases where their passport may be seized by the perpetrator, making sure that their visa expires. And then the day people will call the Home Office that I am no longer together with Madam A or Mr. A, and therefore you must deport the person. The sad thing about domestic violence is that because of the stigma attached to it, a lot of people do not talk about it, and a lot of people don't even want to talk about it because there is a fear that their community will not believe them. There is a fear that authorities will not believe them, and therefore they go to authorities, they get no help, and the person who is supposed to be sponsoring their visas is also not helping them, and therefore they'll be caught in a limbo. For that reason, most people just keep mouth shut and put up with anything that is thrown at them. Very, very sad, but this is going on. And in fact, I don't know what to say to that. Almost every other week, we get cases like that. Now, if you have come to the UK on a fiancé visa, unfortunately, you are not covered by this domestic violence route. However, if you manage to swap it into a partnership route and you're a victim of domestic violence, then of course you'll be able to make this application. And so forth. Therefore, by looking at the definition, you must be a partner of a British citizen or someone who has got indefinite leave to remain in order to be able to make this application. You have to be a partner or a family member 16 years or over. They have to be a pattern of domestic violence or perhaps domestic abuse in order to be able to succeed. Now, let's look at the criteria. And then, before we go to that, let's look at some of the patterns of abuse that individuals may encounter. This is Home Office guidelines. And what they say is that domestic abuse is not always physical violence, but it can also include coercive, control, and gaslighting. Coercive, control, and gaslighting. I will explain that in a minute. And then it can also include economic abuse. I will also explain that in a minute. And it can also include online abuse. in a minute. It can also include threats and intimidations. I will also come back to that and give examples. And it can also include emotional abuse, and it can also include sexual abuse. If you are a family member, what are the signs that you should be looking out for? If your sister, your brother, a family member has just come to this country, it's your duty to watch out for them. It's incumbent upon you to watch out for them. What are your duties? What are the things that you also have to perhaps watch out for? Let's look at this. If your family member is being withdrawn or being isolated from family and friends, you see, it's a pattern behavior of abuses. When they get you, they will try to isolate you from your family, especially in a marital relationship. The abusers will never have any good word to say about your family. They will have the worst of their families, but yet they will leave their family to one side and do what? And all the time point to the wrongs and the right, not even the right. Even the right will be turned into wrong in their eyes. And all the time, all that they do is to complain about your family. However, they will never use their left hand to point to their own families. This is a sign of an abuser. And it's not only men that does it, women too do it. The manipulators, the hypocrites, and the evil worshippers, that is how they do. They will isolate you from your loved ones. They will isolate you from people who are bold enough to point out your wrong ways, so that you can lead a humble and successful life. Because of the fact that they want to manipulate you, they will do whatever they can to isolate you from any support that you may have. And therefore, once they have you to themselves, that is where the manipulation continues. And in some cases, they will even take you to a juju, spirituality, to control your mind as well. So these are some of the things that you have to watch out for your family members. If you feel that they are withdrawn, they are being isolated from friends and their loved ones, it's one of the signs that abusers will use, isolate, divide, and rule. That is what they would do. 2, having bruises, burns, or bite marks. They will beat the hell out of them. They will make sure that all the time they are physically abusing them. So these are the things that you have to also watch out for. Is there any body marks? Is there any burns? Is there any bite marks on your loved ones and your family members? The next one is having finances controlled. The victim will be working. The victim may be working, but the money that he or she gets from her job is being controlled by his or her partner. And when they even need money to buy food or to pay any bills, and in some cases to buy tampons, women's stuff, they have to go and ask their husbands for it. That I need money to buy tampons. That alone is degrading. Why should a woman having her to come to you and ask for money to buy sanitary products? Why should you sit there for this to happen? It's a form of control. It's a way that someone will use to control another person. So if your family member is going through these challenges, these are warning signs that you've got to be aware of. So that, when you see these signs, then you know that definitely something is going down, and you need to ask yourself, what is it that you can do to help this family member? So that is the reason why we are doing today's program, because we know for a fact that hopefully by the time we finish today's program, you have enough information to be able to help your family members and advise them. So we are doing this program so that they know that they are not alone. The law also offers them protection. We'll be looking at all this, right? Thirdly, or fourth, not being allowed to leave the house, or stopped from going to college or work. Some people, especially if their partners decide to go to college, they don't understand. Why do you want to go to college? They don't understand why their partners want to go to college. For me, going to college will help them to better their lives economically, because it will help them to secure good jobs. And I don't see that as a bad thing. In fact, if your partner has got the gift to be able to educate himself or herself, go to college and improve your lives together, why should that become a problem? I don't understand that. So we should encourage our loved ones to push, to achieve, so that we can improve all our lives. So if your partner is going to college, intending to college to better his or her life, and you don't want that to happen, you don't want your partner to leave the house, then there's a problem. It's a sign of domestic abuse and domestic violence. So you should be watching out for these signs as well. Also, having your internet or social media use monitored. Some people, their phones is like their wallet. Everywhere that they go, they want to take it with them. And you have their partners monitoring them. As soon as they leave it, straight away they log in and they start checking on them. All these are obsession, which can be linked to domestic abuse and domestic violence. The next one is being repeatedly belittled, put down, or told you are worthless. You see, I don't understand this. And this is something that I think we all need to watch out for. When it comes to belittling, some of us, it's like it's part of us. Everywhere that we go, we try to belittle someone. Odru baby, oh, nase we de makora. Oh, nase kwa we de makora. Oh, nase we de makora na makora na. Why are you trying to belittle someone? What would you gain from belittling someone? It's a form of abuse, and it must be stopped. Udru baby na wo kawasem. Me ko yes obi ya makora. Ubetumi bonipa. You cannot create. So that words that we use in our everyday language, if we don't know, it's very, very disrespecting. I, for one, I sit here. If you tell me that Lawyer Dako is my akura, that one, if I get you, I won't spare you. I don't care what your age is. I will blast you. You're going to say that I'm disrespecting you, but you disrespect me first, you're going to get a response. So the whole idea, someone is makura, it's a filthy language that we must take it from our vocabulary. It's not good. Your wife, your husband, and you are belittling the person. So if you are belittling your husband, your wife, your brother, your sister to a stranger, for me, anyone who does that, I have no respect for such individual. This is me. So when you try to belittle someone to me, with the view that you are trying to impress me, you are joking. You are disgracing yourself and you are showing ignorance. So for me, belittling, I mean, some people have tried to belittle others in my face and I blasted them straight away. And I'm glad that they took it in good faith and they changed their ways. So if we are all doing that, we are trying to tell people that trying to belittle someone is not right, it's not good, it's not fair, people will take it from their vocabulary. So belittling someone, especially belittling your partner to an outsider, it is the biggest joke. If you're a family member and someone, especially their partners, are trying to belittle them in your presence, don't just be silent. Stand up and be counted. Let them know that that is not right. And we all have to practice that. Because if we do, some of this foolishness will stop. Because many a times when someone is being belittled by another person, we laugh along with the joke. So by doing that, you are encouraging that the person, the bully, is that it's okay. go ahead and belittle people because I find it funny and I see it as a joke. But it is the biggest joke. Eye for eye. If you are older than me and you don't show respect to yourself and you try to belittle me, I will blast you. It's as simple as that. Because at the end of the day, someone show you respect accordingly, you afford the same respect to them. But when someone trying to belittle you, trying to make you worthless, no, don't spare the person. Not in a rude way, but let the person know. Put the person at his place. That what is good for the goose is good for the gander. So basically, it's important that if a family member is being belittled, you stick up for them. You stand up for them. Point it out to the bully that this is not right. Because at the end of the day, like I said, let your conscience decide what you do. Even if the state authorizes it. We know what is right and we know what is wrong. And therefore, if something is wrong, don't be a coward and just support it. Be bold and say this is wrong. That is what we all must do. Because if we all play our part, domestic violence and domestic abuse will also reduce significantly, regardless of what. Now, the next one is being pressured into sex. Being pressured into sex. I mean, a case came before me some time ago. That is exactly what happened. And this is within our community. Many a times we pretend too much within our communities. Oh, this doesn't happen within our community. These people do it. That people do it. Whatever happens anywhere, it happens everywhere. So we need to be aware of it. Many a times, like I said, we don't talk about these things within our communities. And when it happens, we tend to sweep it under the carpet. We try to keep it internal because we see it as a disgrace. And therefore, we will not address the issue. Instead, we say, and people are dying as a result. When something is wrong, it is wrong. When something is wrong, be bold and be counted. Don't be a coward. If it's going on within the community, within the family, point it out and take a stand. Only cowards do not take a stand. Be bold and say this is wrong and it is wrong. It's as simple as that. Everyone has got an opinion and you cannot tell me there's abuse going on and you don't have opinion. Your conscience must tell you that it is wrong. And I said, allow your conscience to dictate for you rather than to be bullied by the state or by individuals to follow them. Let your conscience decide for you. It's a God-given gift and God has given everyone conscience through the book of Genesis to Revelations. God has given us dominion over all things. And when we feel something is wrong, we definitely know it is wrong. But sometimes because of bullying, because of tactics, because of, alignment, people forget their conscience. Abuse is going on. Every year is going up and up because people refuse to talk. The sad thing about life is people who remain silent, knowing that this is wrong, but yet they will not speak up. They are worse than even the perpetrators themselves. So we need to be aware of this. Being pressured into sex. This is where maybe the man or the woman may not be ready for sex. And then they will be pressured. Don't forget that your extension is happening 2 weeks' time. If you don't give in, I will not extend your visa for you. People also use this to do what? To pressurize their partners, and in some cases, their children into sex. People pressurize children into sex, their own children, within our communities. People do all sorts, but the cover-up sometimes is just too much. The hypocrisy within our communities sometimes is just too much. People know about it, people refuse to talk about it. People refuse to discuss it because they see it as a family shame. And a child suffers as a result of good people, as a result of grown-ups being silent over the issue. Being told that abuse is your fault or that you are overreacting. Sebio mpenimfo se kwasia grow die de pa enso bi ampe kwasia wo. You are doing something to someone and the person doesn't like it, the person is telling you to stop, and you are saying that the person is overreacting. The person is telling you to stop, and you are saying that the person is doing it, you are doing it because it's the person's own fault. Come on, give us a break. These are some of the excuses that people use. So if you're a victim of domestic violence, can you make an application? And who can actually make an application under the domestic violence route? So to be successful with an application as a victim of domestic violence, from the definition, you don't have to be a spouse to succeed under the immigration rules. You can also be a family member. And for example, let me give this as an example. Maybe it will make more sense to most of our people. So for example, Mr. A is a British national. Mr. A has married Mrs. B from the Gambia, as an example. Mrs. B have a child from previous relationship. Mr. A saw Mrs. B in Banjul when he went on a holiday. He talked to Mrs. B. Mrs. B laid it out. Now I come with a package. I have a daughter, baby C, from my previous relationship. Mr. A said, I don't care whether you have a daughter or not. I will treat the daughter as my own. So the ball is set. Mr. A comes back to the UK, subsequently married Mrs. B. And as a result, by operation of the law, baby C has also become the child for Mr. A. So Mr. A then decided to invite the wife, Mrs. B, and baby C to join him in the UK. So they've come to the UK. Mr. A is married to Mr. B, and Mr. A, relation to C, is a stepfather. All of a sudden, stepchild is dressing nice. Stepchild has matured. Mr. A, for whatever reason, started making a move on baby C. In this situation, the move is consistent, trying to pressurize baby C into sexual relationship under the same roof, under the same house. The question therefore is, baby C, if she is over 16 years of age, can she apply as a victim of domestic violence? The answer is yes, because baby C is a family member, and therefore baby C can plead under domestic violence route. So in order to make an application, if Mrs. B believe her daughter and put her daughter first, she too can also apply for domestic violence route and dump Mr. A. Because at the end of the day, you got to put your child first. So I would say anyway, but some people will put themselves first. There has been cases that basically they believe their partners more than their children. They believe their partners more than their parents. But it's a choice that people make. Yes, let's look at the criteria to apply as a victim of domestic violence. Basically, in order to succeed in this application, you need to demonstrate that you've been granted a visa to come to the UK as a partner, of the sponsor under the British immigration law, and your child has also been granted a visa under the same route as a dependent child of a British child. And basically, to succeed, you have to be in the United Kingdom, and you have to make a valid application, and that your application does not fall under refusal under Suitability Act. And the suitability will be looking at your criminal record and criminal history and previous breach of immigration rules. In this case, I assume that since we've come in, everything is all well until the domestic violence started kicking in. And you must also meet the eligibility requirement. The eligibility requirement is that you need to prove that you are a victim of domestic violence. How do you prove that you are a victim of domestic violence, especially if the violence is taking place behind closed doors? It's very, very difficult to prove. It's just like an offense of rape. It's between two people, and therefore it makes it very, very difficult for you to be able to prove that there was no consent. So domestic violence is also very difficult to prove. But this is what I say. It's very, very important. If you are going through domestic violence, you must have your diary and you must keep records. It's very, very, very important. You must have your diary and you must keep records. If you keep records, you are able to do what? Recall events, and you are able to give detailed information about what has happened. Because if your story, most of the cases, is not consistent, if your story does not measure up, then people may not believe you. But if you are able to present your story in a chronological fashion, you are able to be specific about events, date of the events, time of the events, and the impact of the event on you. It makes your story more believable. So let's look at the eligibility requirement. You cannot just get up and say that you are a victim of domestic violence and that the Home Office must give you papers to stay in the UK. You cannot just do that. However, if you are a victim of domestic violence, you must also prove that you are a victim. How do you prove that you are a victim of domestic violence? If you know that violence is occurring in your household, it's a bit difficult, but it's got to be done. And I have to tell you what needs to be done. If you're a victim of domestic abuse, you have to report it. You must report it. And you can go to report domestic abuse. Just go to Google and just Google it, report domestic abuse. The email, the full address is www.gov.uk/report domestic abuse. You must report it first. If you are in immediate danger, you must call 999 and ask for the police. If you are in danger and you are unable to talk on the phone, you call 999 and listen to the questions from the operator. And if you can, respond by coughing or tapping on the handset, especially if you are in immediate danger. If you call 999 from your mobile and you are prompted, press 55 to make yourself heard. 55 only work on mobiles and does not allow police to track your location. So you must report it first to the police. If you are in immediate danger and you don't have anywhere to go, there are also organizations that may be able to give you somewhere to stay in the interim. So these organizations, we have the Refuge National Domestic Abuse Helpline. You can call them on 0808 2000 247. If you are in Wales, you can also call Wales Life Fear Free Helpline. Their number is 0808 8010 800. You can also call them. And you have the Men's Advice Line, also is 0808 801 0327. You also have Gallup, G-A-L-O-P. Their telephone number is 0800 349 5428. You can also call Women's Aid. That one is only internet based. So their live chat is chat.womensaid.org.uk. You can also call Karma Nirvana 0800 5999 247. You can also call Hestia. Basically, you can they have only internet website, and you can get their telephone number. It's www.hestia.org/bright sky. You can also call them. You can call Hourglass 0808 808 8141. Muslim Women's Network 0800 349 5786. NSPCC, they cover female genital mutilation, FGM. It's 0800 028 3550. And you can also call victim support on 0808 1689 341. And you can actually call Crime Stoppers if you suspect a crime is being done. 0800 345 341. These are organizations that are out there that can help you. They will offer you a refuge. You see, so this is the beginning of your fight. This is the beginning of your fight. Once you report it, they will give you a crime reference number. Police will then start their investigation. What you need to remember is this. As a victim of domestic violence, you will be a witness to the police, and the perpetrator will be prosecuted. You see, and it's important that you are prepared to see it through, because you cannot be one way in, one way out. That is the reason why I said that you must take a stand. You know, being middle, being silent is not an excuse. You have to be prepared to help police with their inquiry, and also to help the police with their prosecution, so that they can successfully prosecute the perpetrator, so that he doesn't do it to anyone. And so therefore, what then will happen is that the police will start their investigation, and whilst the investigation is ongoing, someone who is abusing you and everything, I don't think you still want to be married to that person. You have to start divorce proceedings. While the divorce proceeding is going on, if you fear the person, you can also apply for non-molestation order. So not only that, you are going to get evidence from the police, you are going to get victim support or refuge, also writing supporting letter that they have offered you a place to stay. You are also going to get documents from the court that you are going through divorce, if possible, a court order for non-molestation order. If you have all this evidence and you present it to the Home Office will have no choice but to grant you indefinite leave to remain. So if you're a victim of domestic violence, you see, the reality is this. You need to report it. You cannot be a victim and not report it and hope to benefit from the system. It's not going to happen. You must report it to the police. You must seek help from organizations such as the Victim Support, such as Women's Refuge. They will give you and your children somewhere to stay in the interim. Police will start their own investigation, and police will bring prosecution if at all possible. In fact, I've dealt with a case recently that the police officer was so good that even the letter that she wrote to support the application was unbelievable. The prosecution has not completed, but yet Home Office was able to give this person indefinite leave to remain, because to them, the police report was so clear that this person was a victim of domestic violence, and therefore they did not have to wait for the person to obtain a court order. Within a month, they granted this individual, who has been in this country for only 1 year, an indefinite leave to remain as a victim of domestic violence. Domestic violence, when you are making the application, once again, they charge the same fee as if you are applying for indefinite, which is about £2,400. However, if you don't have money, you can apply for exemption, fee exemption, as a victim of domestic violence or domestic abuse. So the next part of the program, I'll be talking about fee exemption for entry clearance application and also for further leave to remain. So we're going to come back. Let's take some commercial break from our sponsors. And when we come back, we will continue today's program. So don't touch the dial. Don't go anywhere. When we come back, by all means, we will continue the program.
Wow, die papa be our Ghana, and so I nam no cry asantino. Who send ya will bet manisika, say yes, you what you mount. It's in a paradise city. Ya did this beautiful ultramodern city, Abatema, Community 25, Whooper Standard, Executive, Semi-Executive Quality Buildings, Yenny Paradise City, Yewa Home, it's as a dear brochure Abagana, your payment terms no so, and a phone book call, Whoopin self-finance, and as a mortgage, Paradise City, away your telephone numbers, so UK, +447 908 475 802, US +163 621 923 01. Paradise City, Yajuma Pa Magana Yefe Ankasa. Megafo, we yabanka, wow, die papa be our Ghana, and so I nam no cry asantino. Who send ya will bet manisika, say yes, you what you mount. It's in a paradise city. Ya did this beautiful ultramodern city, Abatema, Community 25, Whooper Standard, Executive, Semi-Executive Quality Buildings, Yenny Paradise City, Yewa Home, it's as a dear brochure Abagana, your payment terms no so, and a phone book call, Whoopin self-finance, and as a mortgage, Paradise City, away your telephone numbers, so UK +447 908 475 802, US +163 621 923 01. Paradise City, Yajuma Pa Magana Yefe Ankasa.
Nyama domboko, nyama kwase. Nyama de so onim. Party na la so be fa me koe. Abaya bi ko shia. Nsa abaya nse nya ni nkrata ma no. Hey, and again it you na we shia be ma party asi ya so nya nkrata ma. Ojam, am so bi bopu ni. Ewa, me de me hu. Ya we din ye din no. Hey, wasa bom bi mu. Ibe be fi kese fu. Kote to ko ni.
Ajawo.
Hey, ko, unye. Hey, da unye na bopu me yakuma etu.
Nada no magina French album na dada na mpezum baby.
What you akuma ni sunu nyina ye free ho because if you can for.
Na ada moti ha mo huntwa na moda so tefi hai.
Now you only me maka nchiro. E na wumi aso okoye ngata ma obi o. Me dem nso okoye okay kura.
Yo mesremo pi ewi ase de obi ene ho chief asem pakodo. Enemre mu nso de obi ene ho betena ho amata bada ho so owon kame. Eno ti mesrew se bankrata asem ko ande a. Na se wuni krata wo brum ha na wunya nkrata mesrew adwuma ba ko pe e na make am for amount. Eno ane justice and law solicitors. Lawyer ye friend no obinda ko David eho e na owo. Nepa immigration sem, landlords and tenants, family, legal documents, civil litigation, wills, and employment issues. Nina papa odi hu djuma e wo ho. Na mesra mo maba beto mu ne America nchira mu. Momfa mo maboso mu tom.
Na wo kan apapa yo timi akonto ko nyina ma ye se bia obi agi usika ro mbe so betu anu so e wotimi ye ho adwum.
Ni nyina lawyer obenda akudi ni nyina hu djuma. Na ne ai mani ka awon ho ne se wo ye ntoko chan se ba mra mu dia. So waje wasebne so onwie ya papa yi onyini sa emfrase ye.
Pacho heaven no asena so wo no.
Yo me pacho obehunu justice and law for ewo unit 35 Eurolink Business Center, 49 Efra Road, Preston, SW2 1BZ. Now the telephone number is 020-7738-5841, and I say the mobile number 075-3896-9589. Miss Row, and then they said the migration for senior pre-wokum had share and one travel armor and for now quiet. It's a free no crudie, found cat as Equadine Justice and Law Solicitors.
Hey, Ojam, also should you want the way you are on idea, see, I feel my idea of coffee.
And if she Penisi will refinance Alcofa Yinchi. And I'm saying, lawyer Benda, a pattern horse to sell, but what young Ghana 43 winty. Maybe there be a free and upper dubaco, equable, a riadonco, lawyer, Etna, a Fidia, a Fire Life Radio, so, etc. Memrem, into a free memory die, a penny memory die, and for Fidia to Fire Life Radio, let's see a lawyer and a Emremun Sem Ewo. Tifina Gradier, Justice and Law Solicitors,
Yeah, Justice and Law Solicitors and Juan Beko. Now, yan can be about fee exemption. It is also important that we understand that the policy or the Home Office, no matter what the situation is, there is always also going to be some leeway for people who cannot afford to pay the fees. There's a difference between someone who wants to take liberties, not wanting to pay the fees, and someone who is genuinely, not in a position to pay the fees. Some people are on a low income, and if you are on a low income and you cannot afford to pay the fees, fine, Home Office make exemption, or the law, there is always a room for you. But there are some people that their income is such that they can afford to pay, but yet they don't want to pay for it. And therefore, they may decide to make an application for fee exemption. To understand the fee waiver or the fee exemption, we need to look at historically, what has happened and why we are where we are today in relation to the fee exemption. Okay, let's start. As we know, Home Office, they have to charge a fee for all the applications that they process. In the sense that they have employed people who work there, and therefore they have to pay these people. Where are they going to take the money from? The money must come from somewhere, and the money, as we all know, is raised through application fees that people pay. And at the moment, most of the applications, you pay over £1,000 in order to be able to get your application processed by the Home Office. In some cases, you pay over £2,000, in order to get your application processed by the Home Office. And the most common applications are leave to remain under humanitarian grounds, under Appendix FM, as a partner, as a dependent child, 7-year policy, long residency, and so on and so forth. And the fee that individuals will pay is $1,052.20. On top of that, you also have to pay the immigration health surcharge fees. This is the current situation. If you are applying for citizenship for your child, for your daughter, your son, who has been living in the UK for 10 years, or perhaps you have now acquired permanent residency or indefinite leave to remain, then of course you still have to pay naturalization fee. If it's a child, we call it child registration. So registration fee of £1,012, and you then have to pay about £20 to get the child fingerprinted at the post office. So this is fees that you have to pay. So generally speaking, any application to the Home Office, there is a fee to be paid. The question therefore is, if someone genuinely does not have the money to pay the fees, what would then happen? Mistake that people make is this. When they don't have money to pay the fees, they will not bother even to do the application from the first place. They will not even seek advice as to whether there are alternatives. So that is why it's important that from the outset, you get attached to a lawyer, so that when you are in these difficult situations, you have someone to ask. But if you don't have any lawyer and you come and call me and you try to give me orders, I will simply block you, because at the end of the day, I don't know you anyway. And therefore, why should I take a stress from you? So it is important that, you get to know a lawyer. And when you need these small advices, you are then able to get it for free. If not, you have to go and pay consultation to get these advices. So it is important in life sometimes to get to know certain people within your communities so that at any relevant time, you can give them a call and therefore they can then assist you in some way. So we have the fee waiver. Let's look at the background to the fee waiver. Because some people genuinely do not have the money to pay the fees, and therefore they wish they could make an application, but because of circumstances, they are unable to pay. We go to the background to the fee waiver case law. Two cases form the basis of the Home Office policy on fee waivers. The first cases are Omar against the Secretary of State for the Home Department, and this is 2012 case. The High Court basically made a finding, and what the High Court said was that the Secretary of State, as a public official, is under a duty to make and interpret rules in the light of Section 3 of the Human Rights Act, the requirement in Regulation 6 and 30 of the 2010 Fees Regulations. In this case, a fee must be paid. There is no provision for waiver, and an application without a fee is not valid application. So in this case, R versus the Secretary of State, Omar, the High Court said that the Secretary of State have got every right to levy a fee, and it does not breach individuals' right under Section 3 of the Human Rights Act. And therefore, it gives the Secretary of State the power to continue to basically introduce fees and charge fees. So in other words, charging a fee for human rights-based immigration application will itself not breach the Human Rights Act unless you can prove that it will be incompatible with the European Convention of Human Rights. On one hand, they are saying that if you don't pay the fee, you have not made valid application. But then they then went on to say that you then need to prove that it will breach European Convention of Human Rights. So then the burden therefore shifts to you as the applicant to prove that if they don't waive the fee, it will breach your right. The second case was Carter. Once again, in this case, the court, Justice Stewart, stated that if a person demonstrates upon proper proof that they cannot pay the fee, then a policy which does not provide for fee waiver in those circumstances is incompatible with European Convention. In other words, the Secretary of State must agree to waive the fee when an applicant is unable to afford the fee and has a human rights claim. So basically, we have two cases where, on one hand, it doesn't break the rules, it doesn't break the European Convention of Human Rights, the case of Omar. And then you have Carter says that, it breaches if the individual proved to you that he cannot afford to pay. So because of that, Home Office fee still stands, and therefore the burden is on you to prove that you cannot pay the fee. So the question therefore is, who can apply for a fee waiver? In accordance with the above case law, only those who raise human right claim will be eligible for a fee waiver, and only where this human rights claim constitutes a substantial basis of their application. So the following people that can therefore be able to apply for a fee waiver, and we need to pay attention to this. Application for leave to remain under the 5-year partner route from applicants who are not required to meet the minimum income threshold because their sponsor is in receipt of one or more specified benefits, and who instead must demonstrate that their sponsor can provide adequate maintenance. So all this, what it means is this. As we all know, if you are bringing your spouse or you are sponsoring your spouse, the law says that the sponsor must work and earn at least £18,600. If you are earning £18,600, don't even go there that you are going to apply for a fee waiver. It will not be successful because that amount is deemed to be sufficient for individuals to live on it before they can apply for such visas. And therefore, if your sponsor or your partner is earning $18,600, forget it. However, if your partner is receiving benefits such as disability living allowance, those people are exempted from meeting the financial requirement, and under those circumstances they could apply for a fee waiver. However, in order to be successful with the fee waiver, they need to demonstrate to the Secretary of State that you are able to meet the adequate maintenance test. The adequate maintenance test is to compare your income, the benefit that you get, compare it to someone who is receiving income support, a family of equal size. So if, for example, you are receiving disability living allowance, your partner wants to apply for fee waiver, and your income from the benefits that you receive is equivalent to someone who is on income support, in that case, you should be able to meet the adequate maintenance test. So that will not be a problem. You will go through and you can make a successful application. 2, applications for leave to remain under the 5-year parent route. So, for example, you are looking after your child as a parent, and basically you are in trouble. You don't have money, and therefore you can also apply for a fee waiver. The next one is applications for leave to remain under the 10-year partner, parent, or private life route, where the applicant claims that refusal of that application for leave to remain would breach their rights under Article 8 of the European Convention of Human Rights. If that is the case, then of course you can also make application to that effect. The next one is application for leave to remain on the basis of European Convention of Human Rights. You can also make an application on that basis. So it's typically, if you're looking at applications such as those asylum applications, and also humanitarian grounds applications, and those who have been granted outside of the immigration rules on the basis of maybe medical assistance in the UK, then by all means you can make such applications. Also, applications for further leave to remain from applicants granted discretionary leave following refusal of an asylum application, as aforementioned, and also applications for further discretionary leave from victims of trafficking of slavery who have had a positive conclusive grounds, and therefore they can also make such application for fee waiver. Someone will say, what is the appropriate time to make this application, and what is the criteria in which the Home Office will use to make decisions concerning such applications? These are the people who can make this application. That is if there's a human rights angle to your application. But the criteria is that you as the applicant have to provide evidence or to prove to the Home Office that you are destitute. And Home Office consider the individual is destitute if they do not have adequate accommodation or the means of obtaining it. So it's still here. You do not have adequate accommodation, that is one, or the means in obtaining adequate accommodation, or you have adequate accommodation or the means of obtaining it, but you cannot meet the other essential living cost. So, for example, you work, your monthly wages is £1,500. Your rent alone is £1,400. So by the time that you take your rent out of your wages, you are left with £100. £100 you have to eat, you have to pay for transportation, you have to pay for bills. In this case, if the evidence is clear, if the evidence is there to show that you cannot meet the essential cost of your living under those circumstances, then of course you can apply for fee waiver or the exemption. Home Office, in order to believe you, in order to prove your case, you have to supply 6 months bank statement of all your accounts that you have in the UK. 6 months bank statement for all your accounts you have in the UK. And this goes for those people who are doing susu. Those people who are doing susu. If you come to Lawyer Darko and you are telling me that you are desperate, you are destitute, you don't have money to pay your bills, and your bank account is telling me that people are dumping money in your bank account from left, right, center, middle, south, then of course that means you have money. It does not matter where the money is coming from. As long as money is in your account and that money can be used to meet the essential cost of your living, that's what the Home Offices care about. If it's not your money, then it must not go through your accounts. Peace, full stop. Full stop. You cannot tell the Home Office that this is not your money, but yet there is a pattern of money going through your accounts every week, every month. This is where the problem comes. People come and see us. They want to make an application for fee waiver, for lifting of the restrictions of their stay. But then when you scrutinize their bank statements, you will see Kwadwo is putting £20 every week. Kwame is putting £20 every week. Yaya is putting £20 every week. Baba is putting £20 every week. Kwakwa is putting £20 every week. You know, money is coming from left, middle, center, everywhere. How are you going to convince this Home Office that this money is not your money? When you look at the bank statement and the pattern is there, every Monday, every week, money is coming in, and you are telling me that it's not your money. No one is going to believe you. If you don't have money, then the money must also, your poorness must reflect your account. It's simple as that. But you cannot tell me you have money, but yet every day you have money sitting in your bank accounts. When it happens like that, Home Office will simply tell you that, my friend, you are not destitute, you are not desperate, and therefore we cannot help you. Sometimes people don't understand. They say that, well, my friend did it and my friend's restrictions was lifted. That means his lawyer must be better than Lawyer Darko. I tell you this, no lawyer is better than Lawyer Darko, and Lawyer Darko is no better than any lawyer. You know, I always believe this. The evidence that you give is the evidence that will lead to your salvation. If you give right evidence, it will lead to prosperity. If you give wrong evidence, it will take you to a place that you don't want to be. So you need to help yourself in order for your lawyer to also help you. You know, since we started Corona, we've done so many applications for people, the lifting of the restrictions on their stay, which has been successful, and also fee waiver applications, which has also been successful, because genuinely these people have a case and they have evidence to back what they were saying up. But if you're telling me that you don't have the money, but yet your account is telling me different story, who am I going to believe? The proof of the eating or the proof of the soup is in the eating. And therefore, it's very, very important that, your account reflect what you tell your lawyers. Your account reflects what you are saying. Because if it doesn't, it's not going to work. And therefore, you may have to take your time and build the accounts so that you can go forward and be successful. We are very, very successful in what we do because we are not afraid to tell you the truth. If I tell you the truth and you go somewhere else, believe in me, you're going to come back in 6 months' time and say, lawyer, you said it, and this is exactly what has happened. That is the secret of our success. That is the reason why our names are everywhere. Because we will tell you the truth, and what we tell you is exactly what is going to happen. It may not be what you want to hear, but like they say, in Akan language, they say nekreya baako pe. In Jamaica, they say nekreya miensa pe. O nekre me ne kre ana ne kre na mu ana obi atwe ne kre na mu ekɔ ne side. And so it's very, very important that, you know, we equip ourselves because we go forward with such applications, because you don't want to go for them to refuse you before you start all over again. So now, you have to be destitute, you have to be at risk of becoming homeless, or you are not homeless, but you cannot afford it. If you cannot afford it, then, you know, your circumstances or your bank statements. You know, sometimes the funny thing is people have about 5 different bank accounts. They are hiding money somewhere else and providing very limited bank statement from only one account. Let me tell you this, brothers and sisters, don't try it, because Home Office will do credit score or credit check. And when you do credit check, all bank accounts that the individual may have, it will show. All credit cards that the individuals may have, it will show. All credits that the individual get, such as store cards and all that, it will show in your credit report. So you cannot fool anyone. And when you try to lie and they catch you, you make your case worse. So please, it's important, it's fundamental that you all do the best that you can. Make sure that, you know, you sort yourself well. The evidence stick up, and the evidence also suggests that you are destitute for real, because you cannot tell me that you are struggling, you are destitute if you are shopping in a high-end store. When you say high-end stores that sell maybe quality product, but very expensive. Because if you're a poor man, you have to go to a poor man shop and buy. So all this will be used to build a profile about you. And if it doesn't sound well, it doesn't sound right, your application for fee waiver or your application for the lifting of the restrictions will not be successful. Don't blame the lawyer. You need to look at the evidence yourself. Lawyer Darko, if you come and the evidence don't stick up, I will tell you plain, no, this is not the time to submit such application, because it's not going to be successful. So you got to make sure that before you submit such an application, the evidence stick up. If it doesn't stick up, it means refusal. If the evidence stick up, it means your application will be granted. So this is something that we all need to be aware of. It's not just about submitting application, it's about submitting a successful application. We all want to be successful, and in order to be successful, you must make sure your evidence stick up. Also, there could be an exceptional circumstances whereby, you know, the individual may not be or will be destitute, or perhaps may not have the means to pay for the fees. And this would include where the individual is very, very ill, And if the individual is very, very ill, then of course, it's not gonna, and the person's inability is also linked to the illness. Then of course, this is something that the Home Office will also consider. So when you are filling the forms, they will ask whether you have any disability, or whether some of your family members have a disability, and whether that disability is impacting or is having impacting on your ability to earn money and pay for the fees. All this will be taken into account. So this is something that you ought to be aware of, and perhaps you also have to, if you like, be aware of, and also, if possible, bring the medical evidence in support of this. Let's look at the most recent Home Office fee waiver guidance, which was issued on 4th of January 2019. And the Home Office will only want to grant a fee waiver in very limited circumstances. Home Office officials are instructed to look at applications very restrictively, and their point of departure is always that an applicant should be able to afford the fee. In particular, the guidance says the following. So in considering whether an applicant qualifies for a fee waiver on the basis of destitution, the caseworker should have in mind the following. Those who already have limited leave to remain will normally be entitled to work in the UK. So if you already have a stay, the question therefore is, what is stopping you from working and paying your fees? That is one. They will take this into consideration. Where the applicant is applying for the 10-year partner route, their partner will be British citizen or settled in the UK and will have access to work and to any public funds for which they qualify. It is therefore unlikely that the applicant will be destitute. This is also something that you need to bear in mind. Thirdly, where the applicant is applying for the private life route, they will generally have lived in the UK for a significant period. To show that they are currently destitute, the applicant will have to explain how they have previously supported themselves in the UK and why their previous means of support are no longer available to them. So even if you do not have stay and you have managed to survive, why is it now that you cannot have the means to pay for it? The means that you have used to survive, use the same means to pay. It's as simple and short as that. This is the Home Office argument. However, if you're able to demonstrate the people who have been supporting you can no longer support you, and you have strong evidence to back that up, then that will have a very good implication for you. The fifth one, if a person has been without any formal or obvious means of support, such as income from employment or local authority support, for a prolonged period, it may be reasonable for the caseworker to assume that a person has had and may continue to have access to an alternative form of support. So once again, if you have survived, then use the same means to pay your application fee. The applicant will need to provide relevant evidence of their income and expenditure so that their disposable income can be calculated. Caseworkers will need to use their judgment in assessing the applicant's evidence of income and expenditure to determine whether this goes beyond essential living needs and can only be regarded as extravagant in relation to their circumstances and obligations, including the fees. Like I said, basically you need to be able to demonstrate that you use your money to buy the basic needs. Not that you have money in your account, you want the fee for free, till you start spending your money everywhere. It's not going to help you. It's not going to succeed. So Home Office will look at all this, your income, and they will also look at your lifestyle, your personal possessions. So for example, you say you are using a phone, and phone bill alone for you is about £200 a month. They're going to be asking themselves, £200 a month? £200 a month just to pay phone bills. This is not a joke. This person is living a luxury life, because a poor man will be paying about £40 a month or perhaps £10 a month. So it's got to be reasonable. This is what the Home Office will be looking at in order to make decisions. So the question therefore is, what evidence will be included in your application? Like I said, you need 6 months or your payslip, bank statement, any other means, any other cost that you incur. You need evidence of that to be able to do the application and submit it. And you need a very good lawyer as well to make a representation for you, explain the documents for you, and the reasons why Home Office should use their discretion in your favor. If you are able to do that, you can make a successful application and you will be free. So it is important that you do what you make such applications in good time as well. Someone will say, if you are making an application for a fee waiver, when is the best time to make such application? I would say that if you want to make such application, you do the application at least about 3 months or 4 months before your visa expires. Why am I saying this? I'm saying this because it takes Home Office some time to make the decision. And if you wait, you wait and wait and wait, by the time that your visa is about to expire, or by the time your visa is expiring, you will not have the code in order to be able to input when you are submitting your application for extension. What will then happen is that you're going to have to pay. And if you manage to get the money to pay, they will not give you a refund. That means you have money to pay. So people have to be aware of this. So what I would say to you is, about 3-4 months ago, put in the application for your fee waiver. Once you are successful, Home Office will give you a code. And when it comes to making the application for extension, all that you have to do is to put in the code into the application, and it will allow you to do what? To go to the next level and submit without paying the fee. So that is how it works. If you have the means to pay it. If you don't have the means to pay, then by all means get in touch with your lawyers. What you also have to know, this is an extra work that the lawyer will charge. So you need to take all this into account. And there is no guarantee that such application will also be successful, because no matter what you give to the Home Office, they could come back and say that we don't believe you. Just like that, because they have so much discretion as to whether they should waive it or they shouldn't waive it. So this is something that we all have to bear in mind before we do such applications. Today, that is all that I'm going to say. And before I go, I will invite our brother, Mr. Ishan, also to come and tell us a bit about the Amway products, because this week I've even discovered that they do so many different products that we were not even aware of. So we will give him a chance to also speak with us, and then after that we will activate the telephone lines and take some phone calls. Today, after the show, if you call me, you will not be able to get me because I've got an engagement. And also, I will say this once again, those people who are calling me at ridiculous times wanting free advice, the free advice is only given on here once we are here. If you call me after the show and you say you want to ask questions, you want to make an inquiry, all that I can do is to book appointment for you to come and pay consultation so that we can then give you the advice. We cannot be giving free advice after we have completed the show or after we have finished the show. Because once we are done here, the rest is business. And every business have to make money to survive. We also have to pay bills. But most of the time after the show, we keep getting telephone calls and the excuses that people give. I'm not in London, so I cannot come to your office. And then when you ask the person or you tell the person, then go to your local solicitor and seek an advice, that one too is a problem. Basically, what the person is telling you is that give it to me free and I'm going to hound you and get it for free. We will not tolerate that. We will not accept that. We cannot allow that to happen, because at the end of the day, when we come here, when we come on the radio, we do our best to make sure that we give people the best that we can. And also we give free advice on the radio. But once we are done and we are out of here, the free stops. It stops right there. So if you call us and you want it for free, you will not get it. You're not going to get it for free, in the sense that that time is used to do cases and applications for people who have paid us money to do their job for them. If we are doing that, then I don't think we'll be able to survive as a business. And I hope that you understand me and you will also take this on board. We thank you for that. Let's go to our brother Ishan. We will invite him for him to come and talk to us, and also to tell us exactly some of the products that they have, because it will be helpful to a lot of our people, you see, because some of the products that they sell is unbelievable. They are doing marvelously, and people who have actually tried the products will testify how good they are. So by all means, we're going to be speaking to him today. Let me just call him so that he can speak with us. I believe that it will help people as well. So Mr. Ishan, let's see whether we can get hold of him right now and see what he's got for us. By all means, right, okay. Yeah.
This is Emmanuel. Please leave your name and number.
Yes. Yeah, trust Emmanuel. Nankode and Samna Brian in relation to Amways. Yeah, Yano and Muntino. And I say I will take this opportunity to appreciate all those people who have tuned in today to listen to this program. Okay.
Hello.
Yes. Mr. Emmanuel Ababeka yensa enti Amway domode ebreye ene Amway product in the so bi ahwe your quality. To be honest with you, I've been very, very impressed. Tell me say the Amway anabeko give me here bi ameko Amway. Almost so many different things. Many associate natural, back to nature. And now BPR. Mr. Emmanuel, welcome once again to Fire to Justice and Law Solicitor Fire Life Radio. Now, and idea now, my.
Hello, Madam Sibebre. So I'm a point say, many young for we see for Ghana for no, I don't feel now. Young casta about Amway. Ne put that your war. Now, what can I say? Our artistry youth extend collection. Near our patron say, product are we used to say their creams are we used to which look younger and younger. You will name wrinkles in a yifu. Now what stands to yes, Aquala. Sana put that in our opportunity artistry youth extend collection. Na young one be to me vitalize your body, or to me repair your body, or to me protect your body. Ma we younger looking skin. With the 4 simple steps, You want na Nidian the boho. Apart from that, so your makeups are huru with different colors. I will be to me I then a yusu. Then the other one is saying I made for ma special. It's me who is sad, yeah. You must say ma or more different from the men. Ya miss a doubt one special. The man and bearman, and as a bearman. Into as a result, some says oh my God, who say beauty a uniform. Into the other kind of say, says whom I are complete, Nancy Rebecca say, ye chemicals are quantum. We put data, if you extended put data, extra skin, ultimately vitalizing, ultimately repair, no ultimately will look younger. So, man, you swear, I a pure natural product, a chemical dear enemy. Into my main and who friend and casa what they are born. And then ready. Until the good thing is young funny be asked or more you see product a year you extended cream and as a lotion na a young one be brave. Until never come for my in man say a mumbo modern namu used to. Then when you come across now, be acquire skin. Then try to be in a qua. I'm a yet snatch that chain. Miranya, me, or their my hand. Into way no, it's me bow no buying, or bow skin no buying, or to me repair with skin. No, to me, some we look very young. Bra, we wrinkles. No, no blemishes now, if he was skin. Now, my skin, I have a fair. You be able to who say yes or bow in a walkway. The lawyer, nya metumi aka kakra wɔ ho no na dɔso ye was set wɔ hɔ a artistry youth solution ye wɔ nya ɛyɛ pack or £241.15 ye wɔ nya ɛyɛ pack another one honestly it be a 241.15 na ye wɔ nya ɛyɛ £74 only a pack. Here one another set to son. £128.10. They won't be prayer Dawson. That means me can't need now. Now, some meeting I can say, so what you mean, ya queen jam? That's all call your website to www.amway.uk/user/ms now. What type in beauty product na be no we can actually pants and our friend say yes all the amount one can bet to me which no fee wo phone so google www.amway.uk/user/ms EMMESH ubet me call your website. Now just type in beauty product. Na badezi. No one can go to so be brave. Na yes rade na oil room na oil in. Ya pure na the native body ankasa sa how be wo skin equity to say bia obi a mo announce offense nkotoje no I heal no. Bia wo na mabun so heal na apapai. Here ne papaya ye woni hina no sradia ebetumi udi ye kwa ebe hili pan me hili e hili ma wotu munama mpabo e be bia na se mpabo a wo be bia no obi ahu bibia o chiti ni hina any skin condition bia wo bia no ye wo product equity je makanfo ama ina no mma no ye ma menom se mo kwatoa no mo hwe no to Amway ebet me see when many apart from say product not upgrade. There was another beauty product be honestly say I don't know so which me try there on the natural beauty na ya me da mo na wo na beba out because they are all without chemical until ya me da mo na beauty ekesi no ni na bepe na wa go fear na ba ama ukunu wunya wibia wo say me sister anasa me yiri anasa mami na ho fe na aba ntikakra lawyer mpocho me dibeti jan.
Thank you very much. Say o kasa no o kan bibi ampese o sa bohu bi mpa wo si obi a ne 90 apapai empo no mo wo ho creams wo ho no obetimi ajusu ama bibia akọ okay. Obi on ma or sa issue no sa problem no tide bia no de oya ne se o hyehyu ontimi nhye se bi osamampo abey ontimi nhye what do you call it slippers impo emfanam because ni nenti nyina apapai no so also mo ho product or ha o betimi e abo now number is saying o number ni bi just in case someone is watching and the person wants to get in touch.
Okay. Actually, number bet me in 075 076 30,487. Actually, me said this is 075 076 30,487. Number to your website and say www.amway.uk.co.uk. So amway.co.uk /user USER /MS EMMESH. The second I am .co.uk in source. So one found Banumunian straight away. In the Amway, www.amway.co.uk /user USER /image EMMESH. Nampacho uko no akota bibia inside. Ubenye bibia. Timida asibebre lawyer dako. Me meka wie last we said lawyer abwa yembebre. The time I come for the now for bibia wo immigration issue. And now say the human issue piano. And answer one issue piano. Fakadan na obetumi abua ma bibia so when you want to. But that's it.
Yes, so yeah, that was Mr. Emmanuel. Let me say, comment section on Facebook, Ubehu website, any telephone numbers. You can call him at any time. If he's unable to answer, he will call you back and sort something out for you. Omoye anwanema bibrebe enti se wutie ya usubetimi ageti in touch. Na wetimi idea alcohol na bibia akoso ama kama. Enti Mr. Yedawasipi. Thank you very much. Okay. Mr. Bua Bonsu, thank you very much for tuning in. Mr. Bismarck Kwesi Adams, Simon Owusu, thank you for tuning in. Nana Yauberima, once again, thank you for tuning in. Rita Abebio, thank you for tuning in. Frank Owusu, thank you for tuning in. Linda Asma Ama, thank you for tuning in. Santa Cruz, thank you for tuning in. Rosemary Edia, thank you for tuning in. Abasaki, also thank you for tuning in. Kobiki, also thank you for tuning in. He's asked a question. I will see whether I can answer the question for him at some point. Ruth Kumpon, thank you for tuning in. Alexander Ofosu, also thank you very much for tuning in. Nana Hema Sapona, good morning to you. Good afternoon to you. Thank you for tuning in. Nana Ajiman, also thank you for tuning in. Christiana Ntiwa, good morning to you. Thank you for tuning in. Mr. Emmanuel Eshan, thank you for tuning in. Fred Obri Yabua, aka Selena, wherever you are, good afternoon, good morning to you. Dorcas Adum, thank you for tuning in. Francis Boache, thank you for tuning in. Teresa Sakwebia Nanahima #1, thank you for tuning in. Ernest Yabua, thank you for tuning in. Edu Amankwa Efia, also thank you for tuning in. Mary Echampon, thank you for tuning in. Frank Owusu, thank you for tuning in. The list goes on and on and on. Joe Ekusi, thank you for tuning in. Nateki Klotefio, thank you for tuning in. Mr. Solomon Ni Gamanche Amatefio, good morning to you. Thank you for tuning in. Ajua Odomensa, wherever you are, good morning to you and thank you for tuning in. Cynthia Opoku Badu, also thank you for tuning in. Brother Yao, wherever you are, good morning to you. Bernard Fosu, also thank you for tuning in. And also Mr. Menu, Mr. Samuel Menu, wherever you are, thank you for tuning in and thank you for your support. Mr. Bernard Fosu, also good morning to you wherever you are. Now it's question time. If you have any question about the topic that we treated today, or any area of immigration and nationality law in the UK, or perhaps employment law, you can call us. We just have another 10 minutes to take phone calls. So this is the time to call in. After this time, unfortunately, the phone is going to be switched off because I have other appointments that I need to attend to. So please, if you want to call, this is the time to call. And if you want to call in, the time is now. The telephone number is 07538 969 589. If you look at the comment section, the number is pinned down. So by all means, if you have any question, you can call this number and the time to call is now. Now we have this Mr. Someone has posted a question. I'm trying to call it up and I'm going to read it up and answer it. And the question that he asked, say, I'm a Ghanaian and my partner is a Sierra Leonean, something to that effect. Let me see if I can find a question, and then I can then answer the question for our brother. Whilst we are waiting, if you have any question that you want to call in, by all means, you can call in and I'll be happy to answer your question for you. Hello, good morning, good afternoon to you.
Hello, good afternoon, Lawyer. Alexander from Wolverhampton.
Hey, Lord Mayor.
Yes, sir.
Bibi aboko de.
Na we adu bibi aboko.
Ye chia busiafo ni nyina aseso. Wa.
Bi ajo so ha.
Na ene okay.
We dey nyonku bi na. Obi guni nkuradu na say that remember bi tie fi ha na sempa ne wo.
That's right.
Aka say ya confirm me na just say dey what tie ne no kure.
That's right.
Then nyina ne say when you obi we shi obi o person ne e ware. Na oni kuno ekuta hangomani bi ama indefinite. Now no initially no will be na say yafa na say we should be on any worry na ja unya kono aboa no ade na tem no chere say almost we betimi aye wa asa no say na ye no ana ne wife to be no elo ya bi se betimi aye na no so say we dey minti the committed Saturday bi am to radio hu tie legal matters papa bi ti minim de ekobia say changes bi abon bi ana maante ti mebusa lawyer ne say ono ni problem ni bi say oba ne bitimi de indefinite no oma ware ha no de atumu ha na na me so
okay me say question and crofo taibusa aware de o ka say ware wo ha no one will stop you ubetimi aware fine application between the atumu ha yes ubetimi de atumu ha. But is it going to be successful? That is where the problem is. And you see questioner and answer the amano. Oh, ubetimi aware wa ha. Oh, ubetimi ya application wa ha. By encouraging ne so de kotumi ye de bema wa ha. So it in one hwe ya obi a oye criminal no. Obeka cho say, "Oh, ubetimi aye ne wa ha." Entu do beko or the application e beko or the kwa wa ye ne wa ha ma o. The question is, is he going to be successful? Young farmer, wa obeka so any problem. Oka so mfa nkoma won do the account we na adwuma. No aju sika no wedi. Because say your application internally, the application will be treated under paragraph 284 of the immigration rules. And you can Google it. Now, if you have paragraph 284 of the immigration rules, now Google and the man is on when read it. When you say America.
284.
Paragraph 284 of the immigration rules. And yes, I can send you a link, you know. And yes, I can meet me actually read the amount. Now, what would the eka? The first requirement, and they say the applicant must have an existing visa, which is not a visitor's visa, valid for less than 6 months. And Tinipa no musa ne ho say, or the application of a valid visa now. Only valid visa answer is done.
Okay.
So entire na idea a heavy mu because any panel will say, oh yes, I can put in the application for you. And it's true, he can put in the application. But the question is it going to be successful? And to tell him, say, you should ask the man, I say, is the application going to be successful under Rule 284 of the immigration rules? Yes. If he say yes, ask him to call it up and read it for you. Because it's no problem. You should not make that mistake. A lot of people make that mistake. People chop their money before they come to us. And in the end, they end up going to Ghana. And God being so faithful and being so good to us, they go and come back all the time. No problem.
Facebook. Beman would not Beman if you know when Obama di at the 940 Beman so called the 70 but when you pack and 200 crowd say the age no. And I mean, I say, our dear no, Obet to me, I or the
yes, age is a number, you know, but the reality is ye ni pay, ye was suspicion, ye were prejudice, ye were all the isism and sexism inside us. See who's a gap near Sana. Yagini say, if someone is taking advantage over